archaeologists have discovered some of the most amazing artifacts of human history to date. However, as extraordinary as most of these discoveries have been, some of them have been perpetually mystifying. These mysterious and strange finds seem to have provided researchers with more questions rather than answers. For instance, there are finds like the Lloyd's Bank coprolite, or 1,700-year-old Roman eggs, just to name a few persons, places, and things archaeologists have been intrigued by but also troubled by. These artifacts being unearthed, revealed, or discovered, bring deeper, sometimes bigger unanswerable questions to the surface. Here is a list of the most perplexing, intriguing, even downright strange discoveries ever made. An exceptional find. During a dig that took place in the town of Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire, England between 2007 and 2016, archaeologists made an interesting discovery in a waterlogged pit. A basket of 4 chicken eggs. But these are no normal eggs you buy in supermarkets every day. They are 1,700-year-old Roman eggs. The eggs were among a trove of rare items recovered from a waterlogged pit. The gaping hole preserved organic items that would have otherwise deteriorated in the soil, including a rare wooden basket, leather shoes, and wooden vessels and tools. 3 of the 4 eggs were intact upon discovery, but 2 cracked during retrieval, releasing a pungent rotten egg smell. One of the fragile vessels emerged from the pit intact and is now being hailed as the only complete Roman egg ever found in Britain. So, why were the eggs in the pit in the first place? Well, archaeologists think the pit was originally used for malting grain to brew beer between the 2nd and 3rd centuries. By the end of the 3rd century, however, the pit had been transformed into a wishing well of sorts, with people tossing in coins or other objects as small sacrifices to the gods. Archaeologist Edward Biddulph says the eggs in a bread basket found in the pit may represent food offerings tossed into the well as part of a funeral procession or religious ceremony. For now, the British egg is safely ensconced in an acid-free tissue paper-lined box housed at Oxford Archaeology's headquarters. It will soon go on view at the local Buckinghamshire County Museum. The Lloyd's Bank coprolite. You may not be able to stomach this colossal dollop of dung. The large, precious poop, officially known as the Lloyd's Bank coprolite, the formal term for fossilized turds, is a 1,200-year-old log that is thought to be the largest recorded in human history. At 8 inches long and 2 inches wide, the specimen was discovered in York, in the United Kingdom, in 1972 in an area once ruled by Norse warriors. It was found beneath what would later become a local bank branch. The dung takes its name from the institution, Lloyd's Bank. Paleontologists have been able to discern much from the girthy deposit, including that its producer ate mostly meat and bread, was likely a Viking, lived in approximately the 9th century AD, and had a gut full of parasites. Indeed, the manure was found to be infested with whipworm and moorworm eggs, suggesting the Viking often had an upset stomach and other gastrointestinal problems. Today, the log resides in a glass box at the Jorvik Viking Center where, in 2003, visitors dropped it, breaking it into 3 pieces. It has since been repaired. The center is proud to call itself the Turd's final resting place, even hosting a virtual workshop in February called Poo Day, in which fans learned about the dung's significance. Rest in trees. The ancient corpse of a woman buried in a hollowed-out tree has been found in Switzerland. It's believed the woman, who died 2,200 years ago, commanded great respect in her tribe, as she was buried in fine clothes and jewelry. Scientists say the woman was Celtic. The Iron Age Celts are known to have buried members of their tribe in tree coffins buried deep underground. The woman's remains were found in the city of Zurich in 2017. An analysis carried out by the city's archaeology department shows she was around 40 years old when she died in the 200 before century. Her bones suggest she did little manual labor during her lifetime, suggesting she was someone of importance. Her jewelry consisted of bronze bracelets, a delicate bronze belt, and a stunning necklace strung with amber and glass beads. And of particular interest to scientists was the clasp on the woman's necklace. Both ends of the bling had a clip known as a brooch that allowed the woman to string blue and yellow beads onto it. It's been proposed the woman may have known a Celtic man who was buried about 260 feet from her grave. He was found buried with a sword, shield, and lance. The pair were buried in the same decade. The Celts are most commonly associated with Britain but stretched as far as modern-day Turkey. They were renowned for being fierce fighters. The conquering Romans built Hadrian's Wall to protect themselves from the Celts who had fled north. The vampire child of Lugnano. These days, it's a widely accepted fact that vampires are the stuff of nightmares and teen romance novels. But throughout history, belief in these fanged fiends was very real. A vampire burial unearthed at a Roman site in Italy is evidence of ancient funeral practices to stop corpses rising from the dead, according to archaeologists. The body of a 10-year-old child was buried ritualistically with a stone in its mouth, possibly out of fear it would return to spread disease to its community. Known locally as the Vampire of Lugnano, evidence collected from the bones suggests the child was infected with malaria at the time it died. The remains are the latest unusual discovery to emerge from the Cemetery of Children, a site containing dozens of children's bodies and evidence of witchcraft including toad bones, raven talons, and bronze cauldrons. Dated to a time in the 5th century when a deadly malaria outbreak swept across central Italy, archaeologists thought the cemetery had been set aside specifically for the babies and young children who would have been most vulnerable to the disease. The child's open jaws and tooth marks on the surface of the stone were evidence that it had been placed in the mouth intentionally. The heart of a saint. This next story is about to bring a whole new meaning to the phrase stealing hearts. The 800-year-old of St. Lawrence O'Toole was stolen from Christ Church Cathedral on March 12, 2012. Before it was stolen, the heart was kept in a wooden heart-shaped container sealed within a small iron-barred box. Whatever the thieves may have believed, Lawrence is undoubtedly important as Dublin's principal patron saint. Along with St. Malachy of Armagh, St. Oliver Plunkett, and St. Charles of Mount Argus, he remains one of only 4 Irish saints to have been formally canonized by the Catholic Church. He was also the last saint of medieval Ireland. After his canonization, it would be another 400 years, precisely, until the birth of Oliver Plunkett. Most notably, he was a pivotal figure in the great turning point of medieval Irish history, the 1169 Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, led by another figure interred in Christ Church, the Earl Richard de Clare. To subsequent generations, Lawrence became a political and spiritual touchstone imbued with miraculous power. Fortunately, the heart of St. Lawrence O'Toole is again on public display 6 years after it was stolen, and 800 years after the death of the saint. After receiving credible intelligence, police found it undamaged in April 2018 following a search in Dublin's Phoenix Park. The heart was promptly returned to the cathedral but was not put on public display until a new shrine could be built. The return of a stolen relic has added another tale to the saint's legend. Witch, please. A witch bottle dating to the middle of the 19th century has been discovered at the site of a former pub near the village of Watford. The so-called torpedo bottle is of a type that came into use in the 1830s, primarily as a vessel for carbonated beverages. It contains fishhooks, human teeth, glass fragments, and an undetermined liquid, and is a late example of a centuries-old folk magic tradition used to ward off harmful spells and curses. More than 100 witch bottles, most of which date to the 17th century, have been unearthed at archaeological sites or found hidden in historic structures across Britain. The find adds another magical chapter to the history of the pub, once called the Star and Garter Inn, which is also recorded to have been the birthplace of an accused witch named Angeline Tubbs around 1761. Tubbs emigrated to North America as a teenager, settling in Saratoga Springs, New York, where she is said to have been a fortune teller and is still the subject of ghost tours. Which archaeological discovery did you find the most bizarre? Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching.